and gentlemen. Alright, this session what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you a few tips about web searching. Okay? Now, just to give you a bit of background on this, many years ago I done a thesis on people's behaviour when they're actually doing internet searching. Okay? And I had a number of students that I gave an assignment to, and I gave them a number of questions that I wanted them to answer, and I wanted to see what way would they go about finding the information. Okay? Now, this was done in the library, and I wanted to see, would they go to online databases, or would they go to journals, or would they go to books in the library, or whatever. So there were fairly general questions that I gave them. But the people who used the computer, I wanted to see what their behaviour were. And I told them beforehand that I had installed like a program on the computer behind the screen that they would not see, and it would capture every few seconds what they were doing on the internet. So therefore I was able to go back in when I was finished and see what resources were they using. So this was almost like a piece of spy software. Okay? Now it was ethical in that I had told them in advance. Okay? But I wanted to see what they would do. Now they didn't know what type or what the actual software would do. But for me, it gave me, every say 15 seconds, it would take a picture exactly of where they were on the internet looking for the information. Okay? And what I found was that in 95% of the cases, the students went directly to Google and went off searching for the information. And in most cases, they didn't actually answer the questions within the time I had given them anyway. But there was a persistence that they had, that they were going to find it somewhere on Google, right? Now, the problem with that is Google is a very, very useful search engine. But if you're looking for something that's a little bit unusual, then you can't find it. Not a chance that you would find it on Google. Because Google has a particular way of ranking the information back to you. So it'll rank information back to you as it'll, on popularity. So if it's not a popular subject, you can't find it on Google. So, but I wanted to see if the students would go off and maybe try a different search engine. But when I asked them at the end, they weren't familiar with any other search engines, okay? So that's kind of was the basis of how I got into this particular field of, teaching alternatives to Google, okay? Because it is very important that when you're doing some research, that you know of alternatives that you can go to than just the one search engine, okay? So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go through some of the more popular search engines with you, okay? And I'll try and give you an idea of why you need to use different ones, okay? So what I'll be talking about very generally first will be the World Wide Web, the history, the growth, and the problems with the World Wide Web. And then a big problem that students have is how to navigate to the right search engine, okay? And then, as the Americans would say, we're going to lift the hood, right, of the search engine. Now, the hood is, in Britain, it would be called the bonnet of a car. So, if we use that as a kind of a reference that a search engine is like an engine of a car. So you got to know why does one search engine do one thing and another search engine do something different, okay? And then there's like I could really be up here. I could be here if you want to adopt me and give me a home in Russia for a year. I could be here for a year talking about search engines and searching the internet. So this is just generally, but I'll try and show you the difference between a search engine and a subject directory or gateways. Then we'll talk about search tips and advanced searching, okay? Why you should use these. And the search tips are, it was mentioned yesterday, Porrick mentioned a few pieces of this, but if you don't know the rules of the search engine, then you won't be able to use that search engine effectively, okay? And I'll talk a little bit about ranking results. Why one search engine comes back with a result on a page compared to another search engine will show you probably the same information, but it'll be located completely differently. And I'll try and explain why that is. I'll talk about visualization search engines and their uses. We'll talk about evaluating results when you find it. A little bit like what Pori talked about yesterday, and a bit today, about authority and the currency of that as well. Has anybody heard the term deep web? The deep web? Anybody know what that is? There's three names really for it. One is called the deep web, or it's called the invisible web. Deep web, invisible web, or the hidden web. And I'll explain that to you, and hopefully you'll find that useful. And at the end then we'll just throw up those cram field modules as well. And then I'll give you time for questions or whatever. Excuse me for a second. Okay, there's a difference. People mix up the two things, the internet and the World Wide Web. They're not the same thing. The web was launched in 1991. Now, you'll see the figures I have here, I'll be quoting, it's the internet, or the World Wide Web is increasing by 7.5 million web pages per day. Now, when I made up this presentation, that was the amount of pages being done per day. But nobody has an accurate estimate of how many web pages are done per day. So it's kind of a little bit like Santa Claus. If you believe it or you don't believe it. But you can be sure that the internet and the web is growing massively every single day. And the problem with that are there are tens and thousands of very good quality websites on the internet. And but with them is also a lot of false information. And you have to compare the difference between what's on the internet and the World Wide Web and what's available in your library, where your library has subscribed to it. I mentioned yesterday that the pay-per-view television is popular in, say, in Europe because it's quality. Okay, so that's television. So you get the best movies, you get the best movies, documentaries on pay-per-view television. And it's the same with information, that you get the better quality information on pay-per-view information sources. So the sources that the library subscribes to generally is very expensive. So you've got to compare that with what's free. Sherry?
I just have a question there, because as you're in the library field, in the past you bought books and you kept them in the library.
Yes.
So how do you as librarians work then with the web? How do you keep records of websites that come and go? Are you storing them in some way, or how is that being worked?
No. There is a group who actually are archiving the internet. And if I get a chance, I'll show you where they are. They're called, if you want to write it down, it's called the Wayback Machine. So Wayback Machine. So if you just Google it and look for Wayback Machine, you will see that they've archived a lot of the internet since it started. Okay? So you can go onto the Wayback Machine and you say you could take your university's website and then you can look, there's a little timeline on it, right, on this Wayback Machine, and you can click on it and it'll show you what your website looked the very first day it appeared on the internet. And if you went to, say, the last time it was updated, you can click it and you can see what it looks like today. So it's a good comparison, okay? So what I was saying is, okay, so the web sources that you're going to find, some of it could be very good quality, some of it could be very dubious. The stuff that you find in the library, the material that you find in the library is generally very high quality and it's paid for. So you've got to compare, even in life, if you get something for free in life, you can be fairly sure that it's, you know, probably not great quality. Apart from oxygen, you get that free, but other than that, you normally have to pay for anything that has any quality, okay? Let's see, can I move this mouse now? Okay. So the big problem that people have is, as I mentioned, the very high quality information that's on the internet is also sitting right beside the very dubious information, right? And the reason for that is there's no prohibition to posting on the internet. There was a time that if you wanted to put information on the internet, you would have to have some great skill. You know, you'd have to be a web developer or something to be able to post information on the internet. Now it's very easy to post it. Like if you have a Word document, you can post it. You can convert it into a web page and stick it up there. So that's the problem, is that everybody is an author on the internet. You can be, I can be, anybody. So for students or anybody who's using the internet, you've got to be aware that anybody could be putting information up there, and you have to have some way of comparing what you're finding on the internet and what is a quality resource, like what you would find in books and journals, okay? So an academic called Cook, like she said, the first task when looking for high quality information is to attempt to locate a service which provides access to quality material within the subject area that you're interested in. That seems obvious, doesn't it? But unfortunately, you know, in the example I gave you at the beginning, where the students went off looking for information, they didn't look for where the high quality information would be. They just presumed it was going to be on Google, okay? So another thing, you know, people often ask me, you know, well, which is, you know, okay, so you keep, well, I call it Google whacking, okay? So I keep beating up Google every day, you know. But, you know, as I said, I'm not against it. But people ask me, you know, well, which is the best search engine? And the answer to that is there really isn't one. You need to be familiar with many others. These two academics here, they said if you want to do a thorough search, you should become familiar with a few of the different search engines. It's important to understand the major search features, as I mentioned earlier. Now, again, if I had done a straw poll of people here and I asked you to mention, say, your top 15 search engines, you probably get to about 3 or 4 and you'd run out of choices, okay? So what I'm showing you up here, this one here, there is a website that you can check when you go home, and it's called 20search.com. Now that searches 20 of the best search engines, okay? Now, and I'll just give you a demonstration of this. I'm not going to go live on this because I'll be here for a week. But to give you a kind of an example, is you have the top 20 search engines here, and you have your search. You can search either the individual search engine, or you can search what is called you can do the full search. If you typed in your search here, if you're looking for education in Russia, you could type it in here and hit the go button, and it'll go off and search the entire 20. And you get results back from the 20 search engines. Now, when I'm saying that, that's okay. But if you take, for example, Google, the results that you get back from Google, like if I put education in Russia into Google, I'd probably get somewhere like 150,000 pages on, you know, as a result back. Now this particular thing, this 20search.com, is not a search engine of its own. It doesn't have its own database. It's linking to the other 19 search engines, right? So if I put into that education in Russia, I'd probably get a lot of hits back. But it can be very useful if, you know, if you haven't got time to go to the individual search engines, like all the web, Alta Vista, if you haven't got time to do that, and you need to explore quickly a particular subject, then use this, okay? Now, I'll just show you how it actually works. There's the 20 search engines. There's all the web, Alta Vista, AOL, Ask Jeeves, Dogpile, etc. Okay? And what you would do then is you'd select, if you didn't want to do 20 searches, you'd select over in the left-hand side one of the search engines that you want to use. And in this case, I was using Ask Jeeves. You put in your term, and then you'd hit the return key, and it would only search Ask Jeeves. Okay? So that can be very useful. Right, my favourite search tools, like this is what I do every day. You know, this is my job, is as a librarian or an information specialist. So I'll just give you a kind of a hint of some of the ones I use. Obviously, nobody could actually operate the internet, you know, without using Google. It is a very useful tool. Ask.com, that's very useful, and I'll show you why. You know, with the different features in it in a few minutes. Alta Vista, very useful search engine. This one, Cyrus, is a scientific search engine, so it's mostly for looking for scientific information only. This other one here, Demoz, this is actually a subject directory, which is, I'll explain it in a few minutes, but there is a human interaction to this particular search engine, which I'll explain in a minute. And I mentioned about the deep web, or the hidden web, okay? And I'll explain in a while that ordinary search engines can't search this. Google can't search it, it's not possible, right? But there are a number, not a large number, but there are some search engines that have the capability of searching the deep web. And this is just one of them, called the Complete Planet. And I'll show you what that is in a little while. Okay, so you've got to look for what the special features are. Like in many websites, like in that one that was Ask.com, it would give you back not only the results that Google would give you back, but it would also give you your results ranked by popularity. It would also give you the option to refine your search. So it would give you other options, right? If you're looking for computer science, it might give you another option that says computer software, etc. And then it would give you a link to resources which would say like PDF files, etc. This particular feature in Google, if you look, there's a thing here called Cached. And what that is, if you might have been doing a search once, and then you come up with a white page with this page is no longer available, okay? If you use a special feature like as in Google with this Cached, what it does is it gives you back the page on the first day that the electronic spider actually located it and put it into Google's web database. And I'll explain that in a little while as well. And again, the special features, it depends on which one that you're using, but this scientific one, this will give you content from journals, it'll give you different alternative websites, and it'll give you, again, the types of files that you can use, okay? Now, this is the one I was mentioning earlier on, this Demoz. This is done by, you can see it here, at the time I took this slide, there was 84,296 editors. They are information professionals who actually try and do what you're saying, Jerry, about cataloguing the internet. And they look at different types of information, like say in the sciences, humanities, and they take websites that students would find useful and they put them in categories. So there's a human interaction to it. Now at the time they had about 500 million websites catalogued. Now that's an enormous amount, but when you compare it to the entire internet, it's a very small amount. But at least it's a very useful way for people to find information in particular categories. This was one done by Intuit. I'm not sure if it's still available, but it was as far as I know, it's still there. But it's an academic website in the UK, And they, again, try and categorize the internet for you and the information. So, again, a very useful site if you want the information to be categorized. Okay, so and this is why you should make the distinction. Now you can just do an ordinary search for subject directories or search engines, but when should you use one or the other? You should use a subject directory when you have a broad topic. So you're going to look into, say, some subject like humanities, right? And then you want a list of sites on your topic that are recommended by experts, okay? And when you want to avoid the unfiltered, low content sites, that's when you should use subject directories. But when should you use the search engine? Like the Googles of this world, right? When you have a narrow or obscure topic, you can put in your search term and you can hope for the best. You can hope that you get results. Or, of course, when you're looking for a specific site, you can use the search engine. Or when you want to search for text from millions of web pages, then you would use it. Or when you want to search for a particular type, file type, etc., then use that search engine. But no matter what search engine you go to, you will always find on the navigation bar hints to use the website. And most people don't actually read that, but it's unfortunate because it will actually tell you what the rules of the particular search engine are. So if you read the searching tips on the page, it'll actually let you know in general terms what you can and what you can't do on that particular website. And where possible, always use the advanced search facility, and I'll show you where you find that in Google in a minute. And use Boolean operators sparingly. Okay, Patrick mentioned it yesterday about that in some cases you can use and or not or. But in some cases, search engines will allow you to do that, and in some cases they won't allow you to do it. But a Boolean operator is basically putting in and or not, so management or leadership, computers and systems, and Dreamweaver not front page. So Dreamweaver is a piece of software for making websites, but so is front page. But I only want information back on Dreamweaver. I don't want information back on front page. So you can put in the not in that case. Now, on this particular thing, where it used to be located to the right of the search box on Google. You would see the advanced search interface, right? Now, it's not there anymore, but if you type in Google Advanced Search, it'll give you this option, and it's very useful, and I'll show you why. Has anybody used the advanced search using the search engine? Hands up if you have. Right, 2, okay. Right, 2 out of 30, right. Okay, this is what you get when you come back with an advanced search interface. And it's very useful because you can search looking for all the words in your search string, or an exact phrase, or you can limit the amount of words, or you can remove words altogether. So, if you want information on, say, Russian education, but you don't want anything on European education, you can actually eliminate it by putting it in there. You can also search by language, here. So if you select that particular drop-down box, it'll actually allow you to search via languages. You can search by file format, or by the timeline. For example, if you only want information that has been posted on the internet in the last year, or if you want information that's only posted in the last 6 months, you can use that option. Now this particular drop-down box here is very important, because those booklets that we handed out today, if somebody is going to post information on the internet, there's a number of options, but they can create web pages. But If it's more content that they want to put up, it's most likely that they're going to put it up in a file format, which in a lot of cases will be, say, PDF. So if I'm looking for information, more quality information about Russian education, if I select the file format in PDF, it's most likely I'll get, more content rather than just web pages. So again, it'll be very useful for you to use. So try and use advanced searching wherever possible and wherever available. Yeah, and of course, no matter when you're using information, use evaluation skills to ensure that the information is correct, up to date, and is cross-checked, of course, with other material in the library. I'm not going to go into this much because Porrick kind of mentioned it yesterday, but these are like some of the Boolean operators, and or not. And if you put an asterisk behind a word, in some search engines, again you have to know which ones will allow you to do this, it's a wild card. So if I put a little asterisk after the word manage, I would get back all the information in relation to manage, manager, and management. So again, it can be, in some cases, a very useful feature. And this is just, I'm just putting this up as a screenshot for you. But if you looked at, on the left-hand side, there's 2, 4, 6. There's 6 different search engines. And then on the top, it tells you which ones allow you to use or, and, phrase searching. Yahoo will allow you to use all of the Boolean operators, and or not. And I'm just putting it up there so that you know that there are different rules for different search engines, okay? And again, it's very important that you're doing this because no one search engine, types of document search by search engines, no one search engine covers the entire web. Like Google claims to have, catalogued, a few billion web pages, but that in itself is only a very small portion of the internet. So if you fail to locate a topic using a particular search engine, it doesn't mean that the information is not on the internet. It means that the search engine that you choose to use is not searching the information that you want. So it could be still there, but you're just not using the right tool. And the other important thing to note is that the search engine you're using might not actually look for the type of file format that you're looking for, because not all search engines will search for all different types of file formats. Now this is an example. These are the types of information here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, which are listed here, all sorts of web pages, peer-reviewed, scientific publications, academic works, etc. And it's just an example of that. In, say, the Cyrus search engine, it searched 5 of the different file types, whereas some of the others, like Academic Scholar, would do 5, but it would include the type 6, which are books. So just to know that the file formats can be different. Phrase searching, Porrick mentioned it just, that's when you put inverted commas in front of, in a word. Like say for example, I'm looking for management of organizations. If I put it into Google without the inverted commas, I would get this. At the time, I got 68,300 web pages. But when I put the inverted commas in it, I'm narrowing my search, okay? So, and that's what you really want to do when you're searching on the internet. You want to minimize the amount of material you're getting back and get as fast as you can to the information you want, okay? Now that's just a screenshot of when I actually done it at the time. And it gives you, it shows you the differences. When I put it in without the inverted commas, I got this amount of results. But when I put in the inverted commas, I reduced that then down to this amount, okay? Okay, ranking. to explain what that is, this is how the search engine will come back with your list of topics and why it actually does that. So what it's trying to do is it's trying to estimate the degree of relevance of and retrieve the information as best as it can for your search. And that's generally done by calculating a relative score for each retrieved document to represent the degree of relevance. And then it organizes it based on its own rules in a rank, all the documents in the search output in accordance with the relevant score. And I'll show you a little example of this. Like, so in one case, at the time I done this, I done a search in Google, and I done a search in, at the time, what was available, ask.com, right? And I put in Dreamweaver tutorial. That's basically how to develop websites, right? So this is an example, right? So I put it into Google, and it came up here, this particular website, IDM Management Tutorial, and it ranked at #1. But when I done it on that particular search engine, it ranked at number 12. Right? Now you say, what's the problem with that? Anybody, any idea why that would be a problem?
Different search engines have different systems of evaluation of websites, like external links, like keywords. So
yeah, and that's exactly the point I'm making, right? So they have different ways of ranking information.
And it also depends on the site, because some sites, websites, are especially designed for some search engines. Google, for example.
Exactly. Now, and can you see where we might have a problem here? In this particular search, it came back #1. In this particular search, it came back number 12. So the problem with that is that if the search engine decided that, okay, you're using Google and it comes back as #1, but what if you're using a search engine and it's number, say, 50 in the rank? You know at the end of the Google where you can go from a list of results and then you have at the bottom of the page 1, 2, 3, 4. Well, most people only go to the first 2. You know, seldom will you go to the third one. You know, unless you're really desperate, you know. Right, so that's why it's important to know why a search engine is ranking information back and what is its rules, okay? And I think I have another example of that here. Yeah, there's a little website on the internet. It's called Twingin, right? And it compares two search engines, for example. And again, I was doing a search and comparing 2 search engines, right? So one I used Google and the other one was Yahoo. And at the time of doing the search, again I was looking for a Dreamweaver tutorial, okay? And this was the comparison, okay? Now, if you look at the little grey buttons there, right, the top one represents, I think the top one is Google and the second one is Yahoo. So the bottom one is Yahoo. Now, in the greyed out buttons on the top, you see the first blue button, right? Google presented the website, say 2, 4, 5, 6. It was 6th in the rank, okay? And Yahoo, it was number 2, okay? And then you can see the other blue buttons. But look at this one here. It's about number 13 in. Google is 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, number 14 in. Google came back with that website, number 14. But Yahoo represented it was over here. It was 57. All right, so if you're looking for information, and you know, you're not going to go down to the 57th page to try and find the information you're looking for, you know. So it's just an example that they actually treat information differently, okay? Now, visualization search engines. Now, there are many of them out there, but they can be very useful. What you do is, with a visualization search engine, you put in your term into the box, okay? And you hit return. And it gives you a visualization, like a mind map of the results. So if I put in, for example, Barack Obama, right, US President, right? It would give me probably a picture of Barack Obama, and then it would give me like a spider diagram of all the information that's related to him. So you probably get stuff on the CIA, probably get stuff on, you know, NATO or, you know, the US defense systems. And so you have a kind of a visual picture of your subject area. So if I was doing, say, on a visualization search engine, I typed in Russian education, it would give me links by pictures of all of the different related topics to Russian education, okay? Again, they can be very useful. But again, you know, this, as I said, these figures, 63 billion documents, it's probably more now, but it's the claim to have that it surpassed 63 billion. That's the growth of it. And that doesn't include the vast amount of information which is on the deep web, or the hidden web, right? And a problem that what people think is that the search engines are updated daily, and it's not. Maybe news content might be updated daily, but an organization like Google, it would be impossible for them to update their databases, you know, immediately or even within months. So they're generally not updated even for a few months. So the information that you're looking for, if you're looking for it through a search engine, it's not that the information is not there, it's just that the database of the search engine hasn't been updated maybe for a few months. But if you were to go to a different, like you were to go directly to the host, like say the Department of Education in Ireland, I wanted something written in the last week, I go directly to the Irish website rather than searching through a search engine. Everybody understand that? So, and that's the reason that there's more difficulties is that the web is almost like a self-publishing media now. It's open to abuse. So you have to have some method of using evaluation skills. And this is similar to what Porrick done about web, or about authority and source. Only in the internet you have to be able to use these and say, right, why is the information up on the internet, right? Identifying the purpose of the resource. Who put it up there and why did it put it up there? Was it just for information, or is there some other reason? The coverage, you know, is it detailed and comprehensive? The authority and reputation. Okay, so you find something on the internet, but who is he? You know, who? You know, he said this, but you know, what's his background? The accuracy. Is the information correct, and can you check the accuracy of it? The currency and the maintenance of source. Sometimes it can be very difficult to see when that web page was actually put up or when it was last updated. The evaluation and the presentation can also be an indicator of the quality. Again, you have to have some way of assessing the information. How easy it is to use the resource, and can you compare it with other resources like that are in the library? And of course then the overall quality of the source. Is it reputable? So that's basically your evaluation of the web. I just mentioned just briefly about this is what I'm talking about, the hidden web. Okay, so the surface web, which we talked about, is about a trillion web pages. So the estimate. That's estimated to be about that much on the internet. And all this stuff here, this is all in the deep web. This is stuff that the search engine can't search for, okay? And there's lots of resources in that deep web, but if you don't have the skills to be able to go in and find it, then it's lost to you. So there are many reasons why material is in the hidden web, and some of them is that people believe that a search engine indexes all of the pages on a web page. I mentioned about an electronic spider. What happens is when a search engine finds an article, For example, that booklet that we get out there, if we were to put that up on the internet, the search engine will send out an electronic spider, right? It goes along, it finds the document, and then it indexes the document, right? But it doesn't index the entire document. In some cases, like Alta Vista at the time, would only index down to 110K. Now 110K could be only 2 pages of that particular document. So of the other 30 pages is not indexing it. So that's now in the hidden web. And again, depending on what search engine you're using, not all formats are actually searched by particular internets, right? The content of the web is continuously growing, so it's not, the internet is not actually updated every day, or the search engine isn't. And then I just mentioned there about the amount of depth that the search engine will actually search down to. Like, I think 110K is the most it can actually do. And then non-robotic tags is the content is actually inside a frame, and the search engine can't get down there to actually index the information. So that as well is being described as being in the hidden web. So, okay, so if you want to do a search on the internet, in the deep web, if you go into Google and just type in search engines that can search the deep web, you'll get a few options. But this particular one, CompletePlanet.com, is very useful. Okay, the URL is there. It's www.completeplanet.com. And again, it'll give you the opportunity to look for resources that an ordinary search engine can't look for. That's another one. It's brightplanet.com that can search the deep web as well. And there's some information about what is the deep web and deep data. It gives you a kind of an overview. But if you want a list of websites that have been recommended, this guy Zillman, he is an academic in the US, and he has come up with a whole list of search engines which are related to a particular topic, and they're very useful. It's like a little mini guide to academic search engines. So I'll leave this presentation here when I'm finished, and if you want to get the actual URL, you can get it, or you can write it down there now. But they're very useful. That's the actual URL for that website. I want to show you this one. Has anybody ever used this particular search engine? Okay, I want to do a kind of live demonstration of that, because I'll be kind of winding up now in a few seconds. My lovely assistant, who's sitting here on my left-hand side, is going to help me with this, because the keyboard is in Russian and I'll have a bit of a difficulty. Oh, good. Just go back here. Now, can you go to the internet for me? Can you open up the internet? Now just go to Google. No, just go to Google. So I just want to show you how to get to this. Okay, so just go. The easiest way to get to it is to go to search for it first on Google. Doesn't work. Now, if you can go to the search box. Search box, yeah. Okay, and just take out that. If you can type in Wolfram, LF, FRAM, and then space, alpha, ALPHA. That's great. Now, if you can type in Russian education. Now, okay, I'm going to show you this now. Okay. Yeah, free for a moment. Okay, so I wanted to show you this one because this is actually quite useful website. It's a very specialized search engine, and it's very complex to explain, but what it actually does is it compares very high quality information that's available in a host of different places. Now, we were in Georgia and Armenia last year, and I'd done a search on this, and I was explaining to the audience about this particular site, and I put in Georgian and Armenian educational systems, okay? And in this particular case, I'm going to put in Russian education, okay? So I'm doing this live. I haven't done this search, but to give you an example, in Georgia and Armenia, what it came back was, it compared the two countries' educational systems. Now you can use it for a lot of other things other than education, for maths, for judging distances, for measuring. It's a fantastic website. But it compared the educational system in Georgia and it compared the educational system in Armenia. It looked at higher level education, second level education, number of teachers, etc. Okay, now in this particular case, I'm going to see what does it come back with. Right, it says world ranking, the results. There's 23.96 million people. The result is 10th in the world. It goes then to primary schools, secondary schools, colleges, the type of education, the type of teachers that's in education. It goes to students, etc. Now, the thing I want to say about this, right, when you're searching an ordinary search engine, right, we talked about what the evaluation, like how are you going to assess whether this information is correct, or can you can you rely on the source, okay? And it can be very difficult to do that. But in this particular website, now if I can find it here, it actually tells me where it gets its resources from. Okay, now it's normally on the bottom, but this is in Russian, so I have a little bit of difficulty. It actually tells me where the source of the information is, but unfortunately it's not showing me here.
Bottom right.
Yeah, it should be.
Resources and tools.
Can you see it?
Just over there. Is that one?
Oh yeah, okay. Okay, now what this will do, oh wait, it's not actually, I don't need to do it. Okay. It's unfortunate now because I can't actually show you this. But what it would actually do is it'll, when you find the sources, it's here somewhere, maybe it's just not local.
Show details maybe?
Where, can you see it?
Well, there's one.
Oh, show details.
This is
Okay.
that one.
Alright, okay. Okay, so show details. I'm just going to give this as an example. But what it does, it links into databases like the World Health Organization, maybe, the educational system in your particular countries. So it's getting the data from sources which have authority. It's not just randomly finding the information. Okay, that's that. So where possible, and if you're looking for very complex information, have a look at that website. Now I just see if I can. there seems to be some error on the page today, so that's probably why it's not showing me the sources. But again, it's very good for comparing different, if you want to compare different countries' educations or any type of scientific information like that. Okay, so I'll just go back to the presentation as well. Can you show me where the presentation is behind this? Yeah. Yep, that's it. So we'll go back on the full screen. Okay. So as I mentioned, we'll be coming very close to the end of this session. I think have we gone over time a little bit?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. So we're coming to the end of the session. As I said, have a look at that when you get a chance yourself. It's a very, very useful resource, and particularly it didn't in that particular case. There seems to be an error with the computer with the internet, but it'll give you the option of looking at where it gets the information from. And as I said, it's linking to sources which are very high quality websites. Okay. Now, Porrick went through some of these books with you earlier on. So in your own time, you can go back through. There is an actual, I think it's in the search strategies and tactics, it goes through some of the hints that you can do for searching the internet. But again, if you can't find the information you're looking for, okay? And if you can't find it on the internet, then ask the librarian. That lady works for me. Okay, so if anybody has any questions, please ask.
Yes, I have a question.
Yes.
Yesterday we learned that nowadays e-books, electronic books, and other sources are more popular than physical books. And how do you feel about this fact?
Speak up, please.
I should speak loud?
Speak up.
Yeah, no, you can hear. You can put up the question because there'd be more than me to answer that.
So, how do you feel about this fact that nowadays electronic books and other electronic sources are more popular than physical books? How do you feel about it?
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, again, it'd be only my personal opinion, but the way people are learning is changing. Like the way people learned in the past, the traditional way that people learned is changing. So the world is changing, you know. And if you take the physical book, right, there was a time that, you know, if you were going to college, you'd probably have to read an enormous amount of books. And I know here, even in Russia, there's still a quite dependency on the printed book. And what is happening in the rest of the world, particularly in Europe, is because there's such an amount of digital resources, is people don't tend to read an entire book. And there's skipping and skimming, it's called, across digital resources. So they skip and skim, so they're searching for online databases or journal articles, and they're not really reading like they did traditionally. Is that a good thing? Probably not. Is that a reality? Yes. So, my answer to your question would be, do I personally believe it's a good thing that the emphasis is changing to electronic? I think it is good, but in the long term, it probably will have an effect on society and on the educational system. But that is the way society is changing. And now people are on smartphones and on the internet, on tablets, and even in our own college, most of our students would come in, like traditionally they would come in and use computers. There's very few people sit at the computer now. They now have tablets, they now have laptops. In our particular institute, a student can actually search our catalogue with their smartphone. So you can search and order your book and download your journal article onto your phone. So you know, society is changing, and that's just the way it is. So we just have to adapt, and we have to change our services and the way we think to the way the, you know, the digital native, as they're called, these younger students want to actually to be educated. You know, it has an effect on the older generation because they can't keep up with it. So we have to, for now, maintain the printed book with the digital resources. But I can see a time that the digital book will most certainly take over from the printed book.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Any questions? Everybody okay? Happy? All happy? Okay. All right. Okay. Well then, look. Just to wrap it up. To wrap up what we've done over the last 2 days. Okay. So we kind of went in through yesterday. We were talking about you know, the need for to be able to identify the different types of sources of information and how to manipulate them, okay? And we talked about evaluating information. Today we went more into how to do citation and how to do referencing, and we said to you the importance that, like, particularly, you know, you've got to think outside of Russia, right? Somebody mentioned that, you know, within your own organizations, here in Russia, there are certain rules for citation and referencing. But if you wanted to expand and, you know, try and get your papers published somewhere outside of them, well, then you have to use one of the reference guides that we give you, whether it be Harvard or, you know, Vancouver or whatever. So then we talked today in the afternoon a little bit about the difference on the internet and web searching, and I tried to show you alternatives to just using Google. Evaluating information on the internet, you know, I can't stress it enough. You've got to be able to compare it with some reputable resource as well. You know, it's important as well that, you know, whichever search engine you're using, it's not going to search the entire internet. So it could be located on another search engine. So you just have to be, you know, you just have to look for it. But don't do what a lot of students that we have do, and that means that you know, you put stuff on the long finger, and then all of a sudden you have to get something done, and you know, you go to Google and you're persistently trying to find this information on Google, and you can't find it. And then, you know, you copy and paste it somewhere, and you use that, so, and you end up plagiarizing, you know. So, where possible, use the experience that the libraries, actually, the librarians have, their experiences and their resources. And if there's anything that we can ever do for you, we'll leave our email addresses for anybody that wants them. But other than that, I'd like to say thank you very much for attending over the last 2 days. It's been a real pleasure for myself, and I'm sure Corey would agree. It's been a great pleasure to come here, and it's really nice to have met you all. And I hope you'll find some use for the material that we have given you over the last 2 days. So thank you very much.